All right, we're looking at the George Williams case study here. Let's scroll down and start with question 1. Question 1. Which of the responses to the difference between supervised and unsupervised machine learning techniques is most accurate? Responses 1 and 2, responses 2 and 3, or responses 1, 2, and 3. So I guess one thing to note before we jump in and start reading, response 2 is in all three questions, or is in all three answers, sorry. So really we know that response is going to be accurate, so we could skip over it for the sake of what we're doing here and trying to learn. We will read it, but just a little exam tip there, I guess. George Williams is a professional Forex trader who has been trading for more than 10 years. He has always employed a simple trading strategy of using a few technical indicators which aid him in predicting the market trend and trading accordingly. Williams recently attended a webinar about applying machine learning in financial markets. Michelle Hawkins, the host, was discussing the implementation and usage of machine learning in Forex trading. Hawkins mentioned that traders have started learning and using machine learning algorithms to get the advantage of complex statistical computations, which are difficult, if impossible, to carry on in any other way. Hawkins asked the audience to differentiate between supervised and unsupervised machine learning techniques. She received the following responses. So it looks like this is the crux of what we're looking for here. Response 1, supervised learning requires a labeled data set. Yes, that's correct so far. While unsupervised machine learning does not make use of labeled data. That is also correct. So we can go ahead and say yes, response 1 looks good. Response 2, supervised learning is divided into two categories of problems, regression problems and classification. Those are definitely two types of supervised learning. And while unsupervised learning solves dimension reduction and clustering problems. That is also true. So we can go ahead and confirm that response 2 is also correct. And then lastly here, response 3, unsupervised learning is employed when attempting to discover groupings of data without any target or Y variable. That is also a correct statement. When we're doing machine learning or unsupervised machine learning, kind of going along with what was talked about up here, we're not making use of labeled data. It's more so kind of going, we're not specifying something specific that we're looking for. We're more so just kind of looking for the machine learning to come up with any patterns or discoveries within that data. So all three responses are correct. Let's take a look back at our answers. So we've got responses 1 and 2, nope. Responses 2 and 3, nope. Or responses 1, 2, and 3, all most accurately correct. C. Question 2. After 2 years of employing machine learning in Forex trading, Williams decides to implement neural networks fully. Which of the following is most accurate about neural networks? So A, learning takes place in the input layer, which consists of a summation operator and an activation function. B, neural networks with many hidden layers, at least 2, but often more than 20 hidden layers, are known as deep learning nets. Or C, neural networks are based on a tree structure of nodes when the relationships among the features are linear. So reading this question and the answers, I think we can actually answer this right off the bat. I don't know that there's any additional reading we do need to do, since it's mostly just asking kind of what's the definition or how we describe neural networks. So looking at A, learning takes place in the input layer, which consists of a summation operator and an activation function. This is going to be incorrect. Neural networks have 3 types of layers. They have an input layer, hidden layers, and an output layer. And this learning is going to take place not in the input layer, but in one of those hidden layers. So we can go ahead and cross off A. B, neural networks with many hidden layers, at least 2, but often more than 20 hidden layers, are known as deep learning nets. This is a correct definition of neural networks, so I think that's going to be our answer, but let's make sure we can rule out C as well. C, neural networks are based on a tree structure of nodes when the relationships among the features are linear. They are not based on tree structure of nodes, so we can go ahead and cross off C. Let's go up and read a little bit more from the paragraph just to make sure we're right here, but I think that's all we need to do here. So we left off at towards the end of the webinar. Hawkins shows the audience how to employ the support vector machine in Forex trading. So kind of relevant to what we're talking about here. Williams is going to start using this in Forex trading. Williams finds the topic extremely important and wants to be able to apply machine learning algorithms in his day-to-day trading activities. He decides to enroll in an online machine learning course immediately. He learns that one can employ machine learning algorithms to a model to analyze the fundamental and technical indicators to be able to predict the price of different positions and hence know when to buy or sell a position. For example, Williams can be able to predict whether or not the Fed will hike its benchmark interest rates. So there's nothing really in here about neural networks, so we can kind of conclude this question is mostly just asking about describing neural networks with nothing really additional we can glean from the reading. So we can stick with answer B. All right, question 3. Williams can employ machine learning to predict whether or not the Fed will hike its benchmark interest rate. The machine learning problem described here is most likely a classification problem, regression problem, or dimension reduction. So I think we already read it in the last question, but let's go back, and I think it mentions it in this paragraph. So it says, he learns that one can employ machine learning algorithms to a model to analyze the fundamental and technical features to be able to predict the price of different positions and hence know when to buy or sell a position. For example, Williams can predict whether or not the Fed will hike its benchmark interest rate. So when looking at what type of machine learning problem this is here, we kind of need to look at what we're trying to predict. So when we're looking at whether or not the Fed will hike the benchmark interest rate, there's basically two outcomes here. So there's basically the outcome where we hike, or the Fed doesn't hike and just kind of holds benchmark interest rates where they are. And I guess you could say that's a third category where they lower the rate too. But basically there's these three different outcomes that could kind of come from the Fed meeting, because we're just predicting what they will do, not the magnitude of what they're going to do. So with that in mind, let's look at these answers. A, classification problem. This does sound like a classification problem. Classification problems are generally going to be more categorical in nature. And so there's going to be more of a binary outcome, this happens or this happens, which is what we're talking about here. Either the Fed raises interest rates or keeps them the same. So it looks like we're going to be able to go with A, classification problem, but let's look at these other two. Regression problem. Regression is going to focus on making predictions on continuous target variables. So in this specific case, where this would maybe be a regression problem was if he was trying to predict exactly how many basis points the Fed was going to hike. So if the variable, the regression would maybe spit out that they're going to hike 22 basis points or whatever, something like that. But since that's not the case, we can go ahead and rule out regression. And then dimension reduction. Dimension reduction is a type of unsupervised machine learning that focuses on reducing the number of features while retaining variation across observations to preserve the information contained in that variation. That was just the definition of that, which I read there. And that doesn't follow along with what we're trying to do here. We're trying to predict up or down or stay the same, which is classification. Answer A. Question 4. Regarding the last statement, with time, Williams explores additional ways to refine his trading strategy using machine learning algorithms. So just note here, looks like it's just that last statement here in the case study. So I think we can just answer based on that information. Williams has been thinking about the application of neural networks in deep learning to Forex trading. Neural networks in deep learning are best suited for. So it looks like we've got questions mainly just going to be on neural networks and deep learning and how that can kind of refine his trading strategy. So let's look at these answers. Question A, they're best suited for modeling linearities and simple interactions among many features. The key here that's going to kind of rule things out are linearities and simple interactions. Neural networks and deep learning are going to address highly complex tasks, which are generally going to be nonlinear, and will kind of look at the interaction among. It will look at the complex interactions among many features, not simple interactions. So we can probably rule out A. B, developing a single variable ordinary least squares regression model. So similar to the first answer, a single variable regression model is going to be pretty simple as well. So I think we can go ahead and rule out B again on kind of the simpleness case. And then C, modeling nonlinearities and complex interactions among many features. This is what we're looking for here. Like we kind of mentioned when we were talking about answer A, these techniques are going to be better suited for complex relationships between different factors. So we will go with C.